It's been devastating for me to watch and witness how this has impacted marriage from people of all faiths all over the country. This is having a devastating impact on marriage.
Most of us in the field are concerned about it because ultimately what it does is objectifies human beings, makes human beings into objects to be used for sex. And when you make something into an object, you use it and then you discard it. So as a result, it has no focus on intimacy. In fact, it's the opposite of intimacy.
You're getting the message that in order to entice your husband, you have to look a way that is impossible to look. And the way the women behave in those films is subservient. It's sexually subservient. It's, you are here for the gratification of this man.
That relationship, its exclusivity, is tampered with in a very severe way. It really attacks the soul of a marriage.
And the message the wife is getting is, if I want to entice my husband, if I want to be attractive to him, that is who I have to be.
Pornography is focused on fantasy. And there's no person in the world that can match a fantasy. You have to be perfect. There is no such thing. So that's why I urge spouses not to get caught up in somehow I'm going to be match their fantasy, because it's impossible. You can't.
So here I am becoming something that I absolutely despise in an effort to please the man that despises the thing he's craving. So it's just utter chaos in our relationship. And as far as intimacy goes, I could look in his eyes in the moment and knew that he had to go to that place and think of those things in order to be with me.
If you look carefully at pornography, you don't see any caring or tenderness or sensitivity or respect of boundaries. You see total objectification. Usually one person getting their needs met at the expense of another. And the other person, in order to be loved, gives in to whatever that person wants.
I've had other friends involved in this whose husbands actually have said to them, if you were more attractive, I wouldn't have this issue.
Most guys have these problems long before they ever meet their wives, and subsequently to suggest that their wife was the cause of the problem because she gained a few pounds or doesn't do makeup every day, that's just ridiculous.
This is his problem and a maladaptive way of coping with life.
I will say this without pride, but I'm very attractive. I am, and I know that. And I'm told that all the time. And he even said, I thought if I married an attractive woman, I would not struggle with this anymore. And yet he did.
Kelly continued to be supportive, patiently waiting for progress. But after 4 long years, she started to question whether her efforts to help her husband would be in vain.
Is it a sign of self-respect to walk away and say, a man cannot treat me like this? Or is it a sign of weakness because I have left this person that I love most and that needs me most? What I knew, finally, was that if he had any hope or chance of getting out of it, he had to hit some sort of rock bottom. And I began to wonder if rock bottom for him would be losing me. And that's when I knew that our marriage was done. And when he walked out the door, finally, and left, it was a depth of despair I have not known before or since, and that I would not wish on anyone. And so now when I hear people talking and the world makes light of pornography as if it is something that, it's just a normal behavior that men do, and that, in fact, couples can engage in it together and it enhances their relationship. These are lies. These are cultural lies.
Pornography delivers messages that says that sex with anyone, under any circumstances, any way you want, any time you want, is not only not harmful, but beneficial. When all the research indicates that early sexual experiences, multiple partners, those kinds of things, result in both short-term and long-term problems. It's why we have an epidemic in our country of sexually transmitted diseases where 65 to 70 million Americans have at least one STD. Half of those STDs are incurable.
People who produce pornography would have us believe that it's harmless fun, that there aren't any consequences. But I've sat with patients at HIV clinics who are waiting for test results because they've engaged in the sexually promiscuous behavior that pornography portrays, and those patients don't look like they're having much fun.
Roger!
Roger, where do you keep your cigarettes?
It's like you look back in the 50s and you watch a movie and everybody's got a cigarette in their hand. And nobody thought anything of it. And now we're all, oh, don't smoke, because we understand the repercussions of what can happen for when you smoke long term. Well, I think that given 10, 15, 20 years, when families have to battle this pornography issue long enough, we will begin to understand as a culture what it does to families.
We have yet to realize and even see and witness what the impact of this generation's consumption of pornography will have on marriages.
In 1993, when internet went public, and that's when people started having access to pornography so easily, that was really the earthquake that hit. And what we're seeing now are the shock waves coming into shore. The real tsunami has not come in.
It's not just some isolated perverse group of men. My husband was a very good man, contributing member of society, intelligent, talented, ambitious, kind. And when there was no pornography, I could not have asked for a better husband. And that's the truth. Once I was divorced, there's more nights than not that I lay in bed alone at night and ache for him and miss him and want him there. And my only peace in that moment is knowing that I did everything possible to try to fix it. So I think that for your own sanity, you have to do everything you can, and the hope is that then it gets fixed along the way. And I've seen that happen too.
In fact, it can and does happen. Couples all across the country are getting help. We visited with Mike and Jenna, who, with a great deal of combined commitment and effort, were able to save their marriage. But it started with an important recognition.
I realized that I had a potential problem when it was about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was looking on the internet. Time had gone by that fast, and I had to work the next morning at, wake up at 6:30. And there were moments when I almost rationalized and did say, it's not so bad.
There's this huge tug of war, but it's like being in quicksand. The more they wrestle, the deeper they find themselves sinking.
I thought I could walk away and just not do it, and it was a little more difficult. Really surprising to me. I thought I was a lot stronger than that.
Over time, Mike realized something that therapists have long advised. One does not successfully walk the path to recovery alone. One must be willing to open up and reach out for help.
The tendency is to tell no one and keep it more secret and say to oneself, I'm not going to do it anymore, I just will stop. Unfortunately, like all addictions, one may say that, but within the next day or two, they find themselves returning to it, often even stronger than it was before.
I've been in this work for almost 17 years now. I have yet to meet the first man who acknowledged that he had been an addict, that had won the day by himself.
If you try to beat this on your own, your chances are slim to none if you truly have a problem. Because if you've fallen to that level where you look at it on a consistent basis, the problem is either going to remain the same or get worse, most likely get worse.
Though it can be extremely difficult, full disclosure to the people we love, especially a supportive spouse, can be an important step in recovery.
A lot of them convince themselves that I just want to get 2 or 3 weeks or a month or 2 months or 6 months without having used any pornography, and then I'll tell my wife. And what we discover is those retroactive disclosures, first of all, they never happen because people don't get that 2 months, 3 months, or so forth.
So it's very important that they recognize that this is not a hopeless situation at all. In fact, it's very hopeful, but they have to face the fact that they're going to have to ask for